You're about to hear a story that would be hard to believe if it didn't come straight from Hunter Biden himself. Texts, emails, raunchy photos, and rambling voice memos. You can't sink this low and not have any repercussions without a lot of help. And Hunter Biden got plenty of it from people who had a lot to gain through knowing his father. If his relapse started with booze, it quickly escalated to include extended crack binges and sex marathons with multiple prostitutes, many of which he memorialized on pictures and videos on the laptop, which, as you'll see, a number of investigators have concluded is genuine. The Bidens haven't denied it is, and Hunter himself has conceded there is a possibility it could be his.
Honestly, babe, the problem is you have too many girls there. I understand you like a lot of girls, but that's fine to do one at a time. At the tops, too.
Hunter's debauchery would last years and be funded by foreign oligarchs who calculated the vice president's junkie son had plenty to offer them. But the cash pouring in wasn't enough to meet the needs of the rest of the Biden family, who sent Hunter invoices to pay big and small. For instance, an email titled JRB Bills detailed Hunter was paying hefty tabs to keep up his father's Delaware mansion. In one payment cycle, $1,239 to the builder, $1,475 to the painter, $2,600 to the contractor, and $475 for shutters. Fortunately for the Bidens, Hunter's raging drug and alcohol addiction didn't scare away powerful business suitors, just the opposite, it seems.
They latch on very quickly to China. Everybody knows that to do business in China, it's based on political connections, not just connections in Beijing, but the connections you have in your own country. It's about having what they call guanxi, which is sort of, are you juiced in? And it's hard to find a small firm that is more juiced in than Rosemont Seneca Partners. In 2010 and 2011, Hunter Biden starts taking trips to Beijing, China.
After one trip, Hunter enthusiastically emailed his Chinese host.
You are the best. Just give me my marching orders.
They're not meeting with low-ranking people. They are meeting with the sort of top tier of Chinese finance. This is a small, sort of rinky-dink financial firm that's only been in business for 18 months, and yet these doors magically open.
The magic word was Biden, as Hunter confirmed in an email to his business partner, Devon Archer.
It has nothing to do with me, and everything to do with my last name.
In May 2013, Vice President Joe Biden pulled strings to get his 43-year-old addict son an unlikely commission in the Navy.
One of the most curious stories about Hunter Biden that we know of is that he actually tried to enter the Naval Reserves at a fairly old age. He got an exemption in order to be able to enter. He got another exemption because he had had a drug issue in his past. But connections help, and with Joe Biden, his father, being vice president, he's able to get in.
We have a lot of bad judgment in my family. My son, who's over 40, just joined the United States Navy, is about to be sworn in as an officer. Hunter Biden.
Like Hunter's Yale law degree, his military service was a credential his father was quick to boast about. Too quick, it turns out.
Hunter doesn't even make it through his first weekend in the Naval Reserve. He's caught in a drug test with cocaine in his blood. He makes up a cock and bull story about how he was outside a bar the night before and someone handed him a cigarette. It must have been laced with cocaine.
But a never-released statement drafted on his laptop presumably is closer to the truth.
After 10 years of sobriety, I relapsed at possibly the most inopportune time. The guilt and shame I have felt over letting my family down was indescribable. I sought an age waiver at 42 years old to serve in the U.S. Navy. I dishonored that great privilege, and for that, I am deeply ashamed. But I also know that I cannot allow one moment in time to define me.
Hunter's brother Bo, a vet who served in Afghanistan and then became Delaware's Attorney General, brought him home from the base. Bo was seen as a future Senate candidate. Joe believed he was presidential timber. But dreams of Biden political dynasty dashed 2 months later when Bo received a death sentence diagnosis: brain cancer. The Bidens prayed for a miracle, but also got back to business. In December 2013, Hunter flew to Beijing on Air Force Two after his father was picked to be President Obama's point man on China.
It's not just Joe Biden bringing his son along because he likes him and he wants to chat to him on the plane. This is American power come to do business. Hunter Biden is recognised as a princeling. And this is a unique creature in China. Instead of giving the money directly to the minister, to the person in charge, you give it to their son, their grandson, their wife, a relative. Hunter Biden was brought there openly as Joe Biden's representative.
We do know that during this visit that Hunter Biden introduced his father to one of his Chinese business partners. And then within 10 days of them returning to the United States on Air Force Two, one of the big deals for Hunter Biden gets closed. It's called Boei Harvest. It's $1.5 billion private equity deal.
Peter Schweitzer believes China got its quid pro quo when Joe Biden pushed questionable policies favored by Hunter's business partners.
In that December 2013 trip, they're pressing him to take a very hard line on the South China Sea, on trade issues, on human rights. He's decidedly not hardline, he's very soft. And I would argue that aligns very, very nicely with the fact that his son is trying to finalize this deal in Beijing with an entity that is connected to the Chinese government itself.
Around that time, Hunter forwarded Devon Archer a New York Times article titled, "Biden May Take on Expanded Role in Foreign Policy in Second Term," and added the comment,
If we can't figure this out, we should be shot.
"7 months later, in July 2014, Hunter returned to rehab, this time in Tijuana, Mexico, where he was treated with toad venom. He claims it kept him sober for a year. Around that time, he gave up Secret Service protection, though it is unclear how many of Hunter's foreign escapades Secret Service did attend, as the agency has redacted records about Hunter's travels to countries like Russia, China, and Kazakhstan. Regardless, the international man of mystery forged ahead and found another source for big bucks, thanks to a lucrative energy deal in Ukraine.
The spring of 2014, Hunter Biden strikes up this relationship with Burisma, which is this corrupt Ukrainian energy company that involves Ukrainian government officials and very corrupt oligarchs. They want a relationship in Washington, D.C., and they look to Hunter Biden.
It just so happens the vice president was also overseeing foreign policy in Ukraine.
Joe Biden is kind of the administration's point person. And then within a 1 month period of time, in 2014, Joe Biden meeting with Hunter's business partner, Devon Archer, in the White House, going to Ukraine. Within a week or so, all of a sudden, Devon's on the board, Hunter's on the board.
Chris Hines had no interest in being involved with Burisma, and I think it's evidence of the fact that the son of a powerful political figure, John Kerry, realized how far gone Hunter Biden was prepared to go and it was too much even for Chris Hines.
We reached out to Chris Hines for a statement. He claims he left Rosemont Seneca after being alarmed by his colleagues' quote, lack of judgment. Emails from Hunter's other business associates suggest they were aware of the relationship's liability.
Stress reputational risk. Stress zero policy on using names that are not ours in direct reference. Explain less overt role you will play relative to me, front man, particularly in elections.
Burisma, even among a bunch of companies that have reputations for corruption, it really has a reputation for that. So getting these Rosemont Seneca guys on their board was a huge coup for them.
Burisma was quick to tout its new relationship.
Hey guys, there's apparently a photo of Devin and the VP on Burisma's website. Dimitra, VP Counsel, called and asked that we tell Burisma they need to take it down. Legally, they aren't comfortable with the VP's picture being up on the site as what seems like an endorsement.
It was politically risky for the son of a vice president, but the money was good.
Joe Biden knows exactly what's going on. He wants plausible deniability, but he also knows this is a way for his family to become fabulously wealthy.
American studies have shown that you might expect to get about $55,000 to $60,000 a year if you are serving on a board of a company about Burisma's size. By contrast, the Burisma board pay was $80,000 a month.
To hear Hunter tell it, all that cash was less a blessing than a curse.
Burisma turned into a major enabler during my steepest skid into addiction. The board fee had morphed into a wicked sort of funny money. It hounded me to spend recklessly, dangerously, destructively, humiliatingly. So I did.
He spent it on crack, expensive sports cars, hotel suites, room service, prostitutes, and various hangers-on who ran up his credit cards. To see the images and videos, to read the emails and texts, is to gravely doubt Hunter Biden was in any condition to legitimately earn the money from Burisma.
He's someone who couldn't even answer his own emails, couldn't even hold down a job at McDonald's, and yet he was travelling around the world having these sort of high-powered meetings and having deals thrust in his lap. So this was the life that he had while his father was vice president, and Joe Biden was assisting at every stage.
Assisting Hunter and Hunter's business partners.
Burisma's owner, a guy called Nikolai Zlochevsky, who was in a lot of trouble internationally. There were various inquiries into the theft of billions of dollars from the Ukrainian treasury. His assets had been frozen. Now, he needed protection, and Hunter Biden was his protection.
In an email on the laptop, a Burisma board advisor asked Hunter to use his influence to stop prosecutions.
We urgently need your advice on how we can use your influence to convey a message, signal, etc., to stop what we consider to be politically motivated action.
Lo and behold, when the chief prosecutor of Ukraine, a man called Viktor Shokin, started to investigate the corruption at Burisma and seized all the property of the owner of Burisma, Zlochevsky, all his mansions, his Rolls-Royce Phantom car, and so on. Shortly after that raid, Joe Biden became really insistent that the government of Ukraine had to sack Viktor Shokin, the chief prosecutor, or he would withhold $1 billion of aid.
Joe Biden would later brag about what he did in classic Biden fashion.
The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
But at the time, the Obama State Department found the whole episode highly problematic.
We had testimony from the State Department, George Kent, just the appearance of the conflict of interest. And it was a conflict of interest. It was very awkward for U.S. policymakers whose primary goal was to help Ukraine rid itself of the legacy of corruption.
There were many people sounding the alarm about Hunter Biden serving on this board while Joe Biden was the point man on Ukraine corruption. So the idea that Joe Biden would be the one person in Washington, D.C. who didn't know that this was a concern really doesn't stand up to scrutiny.
The money kept pouring in, as the laptop confirms.
In 2014, your taxes reported $847,328 in income, to be amended at $1,247,328. In 2015, your taxes reported $2,487,208 in income.
It fueled Hunter's drug benders, captured by ever raunchier sex tapes and selfies. A different kind of snapshot was prized by his business associates in far-flung locales. One with the Vice President of the United States could confer legitimacy on a corrupt oligarch or other shadowy character, while Hunter occasionally brought clients to the West Wing and the Vice President's residence, an off-site meet was a safer bet. Case in point, a 2015 dinner at Cafe Milano, a DC power scene. Joe's appearance was strictly hush-hush.
Dad will be there, but keep that between us for now.
He had people including a Burisma executive and his father, Vice President Joe Biden. There's photographic evidence. There were emails sent from the people who were at the dinner thanking Hunter for arranging it, thanking him for allowing them to meet with Vice President Biden and how helpful that was.
A month after this dinner, Beau Biden lost his battle to cancer. On the way home from the funeral, Hunter mused to his wife Kathleen that maybe it was his time to run for office. Dumbfounded, she shot back, "Are you kidding?"
But I underestimated how much the wreckage of my past and all that I put my family through still weighed on Kathleen. We didn't say another word to each other for the rest of the ride. Or really, ever again.
But Kathleen would call him out in emails on the laptop.
"You're not okay. My gut is you've been using this entire time. You're still projecting on me, denying what's really going on, and so far as I can see, not working on sustained sobriety."
With his marriage unraveling and a brother who had just died, Hunter did something that appalled the entire Biden family.
He then embarked fairly shortly after the funeral on an affair with his sister-in-law, Hallie Biden. His wife, Kathleen, at the time, suspected something because he was spending all his time in Hallie's house, the house of his now deceased brother, looking after, he said, her children and helping her in Wilmington, Delaware.
Kathleen soon learned Hallie wasn't the only one. Her husband's philandering had apparently been going on for years.
His name was leaked in a hack of the Ashley Madison sort of adultery site. And he lied again about that and said, no, it wasn't him. And he said, well, I was hacked by the Russians.
Kathleen emailed Hunter she wanted out.
"I'm leaving you because you're having an affair, and you've been emotionally abusive. You say you were surprised by my asking for a separation and needed time to process it? I was surprised when I found your bottles of Viagra and Cialis. I was surprised when I found airline purchases and jewelry purchases. I have woken to my reality. No one should be treated the way you've treated me. I won't take it anymore."
Despite that, in another email, she also told Hunter,
"You are a better father than your dad. I know you love your dad, and I do too, but he wasn't perfect. You were better in every way.
Being a dutiful daughter-in-law, Kathleen offered to delay the divorce until Joe decided whether he'd try to succeed Barack Obama as president.
Bo is our inspiration. Unfortunately, I believe we're out of time, the time necessary to mount a winning campaign for the nomination.
In October 2015, Joe announced he wouldn't run. Hunter spent the last year of his father's vice presidency on a nonstop cross-country booze, crack, and sex marathon that left him and his family scrambling for money. Would the cash run out? And what would happen when it did? That's coming up in Who is Hunter Biden, Episode 3.